Welcome back to ZA Confidential, the podcast where we quite often taste South African wine, very rarely fall over in the process, and sometimes have a jolly good time. Today we are tasting, for the second in a long series of two podcasts, another of these boxed wines from Woolworths, which I thought was an interesting marketing idea. And as we have some quite intelligent people to talk to, we can talk about the marketing as well as the contents of the box. The money or the box, I will take the box. To join me today, we have Bill Newman, who is an accountant, but otherwise a fairly nice chap, who advises companies on how they can get money out of government on the rare occasions when government is handing out money these days. And we have Mike Schussler, who is one of our best known economists, best loved, best liked, and occasionally he's right. And we do have with us probably one of the nicest people in the South African wine industry, certainly someone who is incredibly, annoyingly knowledgeable, Michael Olivier. Michael, welcome. Tell us what we're drinking, please.
John, we're drinking the Beyerkloof Reserve Collection Pinotage. Now, Beyerkloof, Beyers Truter is the owner. I always refer to him as the perfect Pinotage producer. He and his son Henri make the wine there. Beyer says he does the night shift more often than not, which is proved by the fact that he responds to my Twitter account at night time. This is a Stellenbosch wine. It's a Pinotage, which is a vineyard crossing of Pinotage and a wine and a grape known as Hermitage, now called Cinsault. It's got a lovely, lovely color, nice ruby. It's sort of slight purple tinges around the edges. And then for me, the nose and in fact the palate. Oh, we've had this in the fridge and it's absolutely delicious. The nose and the palate sort of segue one into the other. There's the Pinot Noir parent, which gives you the sort of more refined cherries, raspberries, and then you've got the Hermitage Cinsault parent, which gives you those lovely, what I call country lane fruits, where you've got brambles, where you've got maybe mulberries, and a bit of pomegranate. And then there's also quite a nice sort of base undertow of a sort of rain on a forest floor kind of flavor. I love this wine. I love the winemaker. I mean, he's such an incredibly special man, Beyers Truter. And I think that we've had this in the fridge now overnight. And as a chilled wine, with lunch, with a piece of pork belly, nice crispy crackling off the Weber, even a chicken salad, maybe that sort of the ubiquitous coronation chicken would be perfect, because the wine would complement the spice in the sauce perfectly. I think this is a great glass. It's a sort of glass of wine that I would drink on its own late afternoon at a braai, waiting for the embers to die down so that you can get the meat on, provided you've taken it out of the deep freeze in time. And really just delicious, absolutely delicious, really, really nice wine.
Well, Michael, you are a refrigerator after my own heart, because I too had this in the fridge overnight. And as you know, I do like my red wine slightly chilled, even though I get funny looks. And even when I put ice cubes in them, I am unashamed, and the looks get funnier. I'm enjoying this. It's a little bit steely. maybe I don't know. You tell me. Maybe it would have been advisable to decant it for a little while before drinking it. A little bit of air in there because it has been trapped in this coffin from Woolworths for quite a while. And the other thing, Michael, I wanted to ask you, and it's very strange. I know this is a supermarket, Woolworths, and certainly it's not that super these days, but these wines which we've been tasting in the box have sell-by dates on them. Surely wine shouldn't. Oh, sorry, best before dates. Best before, sometime in 2021 for this red. I'm pretty sure that if you hid this in the bottom of a cupboard for 5 years, it might actually be better, not best. What do you think?
I don't think these wines are made for aging in the bag. I think if you want to age a wine, you just simply age it in the bottle with a cork or a screw cap. So I think that I'm not absolutely sure, but I think there is a possibility of oxygen perhaps getting in through the tap somehow. I think these are wines that you drink immediately you buy them, get them into the fridge and start enjoying.
Okay, Dwayne Newman, are you drinking yours immediately soon after you bought it, or you sent out one of your staff to buy it?
You asked leading questions, John. Yeah, I sent my wife out to buy it, as opposed to my staff. My staff were working, doing chargeable work, and looking after their clients. They don't have time to go out and buy wine for me. I'm not sure they actually would, to be honest. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Beyerkloof and a big fan of their Pinotage. It's a really fantastic. I agree with Michael. It's a fantastic wine. I mean, I didn't chill mine. Okay, it stayed out on the counter overnight. I don't actually like my red wines chilled. I mean, I do get the point. We obviously is warm now, but I really like it at room temperature. Okay? And because I think it brings off the aromas for me. So it is, I think, really special. I am going through my Pinotage phase in my life. Okay, so I'm testing lots of different Pinotages, and Beyerkloof is really up there. So I'm really enjoying it, John.
Great to hear, Dwayne. And would you serve it to your guests unashamedly? Maybe if you'd have bought it in a box, hiding the box out of sight, maybe sticking it in a decanter or something, or would you just put the box out there and say, right, this is a good wine, doesn't matter how it's packed, enjoy?
You want an honest answer to that question? The honest answer would be, if I was going to buy the box, I think my debate is I probably wouldn't buy it in a box. But if I did, I would decant it before I served it to my guests, because I think it's a really good wine. And yeah, so I mean, yeah, I think my guests. I don't think putting it on a dinner table, a box on a dinner table, I think is appropriate. I get it around a wine, around a braai and stuff, or by the pool, and you sitting in the pool and you getting the wine out of the box. I think that's quite. That would be appropriate, but on a dinner table, I wouldn't serve a box wine at a dinner table.
Mike Schussler, would you put the foie gras, smoked salmon, and caviar to one side so that you could make room for this box on your evening dinner?
Yes, I have no problem with that. I would also, maybe if I had a decanter, I would decant it with Dwayne there. But I think it's a very wonderful wine. I have two stories about this wine, if I may. The one is when I made Economist of the Year, Mr. Truter sent me a congratulation letter, which was quite nice. It was more than a decade ago, and I really appreciated that effort. And I did buy it
ever since, has it, Mike?
Yeah, it's been a favorite of mine ever since. And that leads me to the second story I'd like to say. I find very few restaurants don't have a Beyerkloof Pinotage on their wine menu. And I think it's taken over from some other popular wines that we used to have, like, I'll get it now, but Chateau Libertas. The earlier years was more Vlede Cup, and Zonneblom was very popular. But this has taken over in a very big way. And it comes out in a box now. It's a great wine. It is really, it's got the fruitiness. I think it's got more than a round body as well. It's got everything. This tastes slightly tanniny for me, but I didn't cool it like Dwayne. I also kept mine outside, and I do, like you know, prefer my wine a bit colder, but I thought for the tasting purposes, this is maybe the way to go. And I'm just going to say that this is probably, at the moment, the South African wine type style that most people know about. It is an incredibly well-marketed wine. I think it's doing very well all over, and I hope that long may they continue. It's brilliant.
Dwayne, just picking up from what Michael was saying about marketing, one thing I've learnt from friends and contacts in the wine industry is that a challenge South Africa has is to get a brand out into the global market. My impression is that they produce buckets full, swimming pools full of Beyerkloof Pinotage, which is a very nice wine. And if they can get that critical mass into global markets, isn't this a way to go?
John, I think taking a wine as a good quality as this one, and I think going global, I think is the way to go. And obviously, the big challenge always is the brand. Okay, I think it is about brand recognition. One is the South African brand, step one, and then obviously the individual brand, the farm brand and the name. So I think that's always a challenge for a winemaker. I mean, recently I was on holiday in the Cape, and I went to some, I suppose, new wine farms. Well, I got somebody to drive us around because I was doing wine tasting for the day. And I got to some small wine farms, to be honest, I'd never heard of. And their market is 80% export. So I find that really encouraging, that we've got wines I've never heard of, who then get marketed overseas and really successfully. Okay, so they've actually not even bothered with the South African market, to be honest, which I find really interesting, is that you go export and that's your market, because most of us do it the other way around. You try and get local market acceptance of your product, and if you're really good, you go global. So it'd be interesting to hear Michael's views on some of the wine estates that focus on the export market.
And you shall, Michael.
Yeah, look, I think I was reading Fiona Beckett's column in The Guardian yesterday, and she was talking about reds, which are good for winter. And I looked through them. She's a great supporter of South Africa. She's visited here often as a guest of Wines of South Africa, WOSA. And one of the wines that she recommended was a Cabernet Sauvignon, and it was called Cambalala. Now, I think if you're going to go into the export market and you're serious about it, and if you're a small producer, don't, for goodness sake, go around calling your wine Cambalala, because it means nothing. You know, she did say it was a Stellenbosch wine, but yeah, so what? I think that a lot of wine, sadly, goes out in what are known in the industry as devalfus, the whales, which are those massive plastic, black plastic containers full of wine, and they go to a bottling plant in Bristol or Southampton, or they've got them in Spain and France as well. And they simply get bottled under some name which somebody thinks might be appealing. And I don't know whether Cambalala is an appealing name for a Brit, but I think that get your wine out there, sure, get your wine out, branded South African, and then be proud that you're a Beyerkloof and a Pierre Jourdain. And I'm a great believer in we should be calling our wines what they really are, rather than giving them these extraordinary names.
Michael, in the incredibly unlikely event that these boxes will not have been drained by your household before sunset,
Yes.
if you were to keep open boxes of wines for a week, say, for 2 weeks, say, would it still be drinkable? Is that one of the benefits of a box, or is it one of the dangers that once it's opened, it's not going to last that long?
John, I don't think it's not like if you leave wine in a bottle, of which I have no experience at all. It's going to oxidize overnight. A couple of boxes like this in this household will probably last a couple of days rather than a week. Especially the Beyerkloof Pinotage. I mean, it's just such a stunning wine. I would have it with fish. It's so damn good. I think that these wines are meant for now drinking and not for keeping.
Okay, well, a few final thoughts then as we wind up our pair of podcasts, tasting two different boxed wines from Woolworths. Dwayne Newman, in our conversations to date, I get the impression you're not sold. You're going to go for the standard bottles in future. The boxes may not have much wrong with them, but they just leave you a bit uneasy. Is that unfair?
I think that's right, John. I mean, I think, and also I suppose when it comes to, I mean, price points and stuff, I don't see a big difference between the bottle and the box price, to be really honest. So it's not going to be driving me to buy more because it's priced a little bit more competitively. And I still think they've got a lot of work to do to get over the psychological challenge of these box wines are seen as lower quality wines. Yes, putting Beyerkloof in a box, I think might help with that, but I'm not convinced. I'll still buy the bottle.
Some final thoughts, Mike Schussler?
Oh, I'm sold on the box. I understand Dwayne's thing, and I have no qualms, either way. And I do agree with him that I was thinking that the price differential would be greater, but it is a wonderful wine. I think Beyerkloof is a wine we should export every day of the week. And I want to see more of that. It is really one of my favorites. And I don't have to do more than that. I think this show, this podcast is doing a very wonderful thing for South African wines, and that the people must know that we have these wonderful wines and that you now got the choice of a box, which I think is good.
Michael Oliver, a final question and a final thought. We did have someone else who was going to join us in this podcast tasting today, but wasn't able to get to the shops before, I think it was 5 p.m. on Friday, where we're now recording on a Saturday, when you can't buy wine, you can't buy any booze. Is it not a little bit ridiculous that we have these stupid, draconian, patronizing, bureaucratic, bullying that mean that, somebody says,
you've got to be honest, John, clearly. You've got to view, John, clearly.
Let's have supper tonight, but actually you're going to have to drink lemonade because we've run out of wine. When are we going to see reality? Are we ever going to see reality? Are these little Hitlers in the government going to ruin our lives forever? Michael?
Yes, I was just thinking. I don't agree with it, obviously. I see the point. Sorry?
Me or it?
No, I don't agree with it. I think I understand that they don't want people to buy vast quantities of wine and have big parties over the weekend. I think when you're talking about this level of wine and this level of customer, I think it's totally ridiculous. People who drink wine with food and friends, which is the way it should be done, are not going to buy a 5-gallon jar of some semi-sweet rubbish. They're going to buy good quality wine. So I think the whole thing is bullying. I think it's totally ridiculous. The one thing that does impress me is that I think most South Africans are very careful about COVID-19, and on the odd occasion that I am taken out, I'd never ever see people who don't have masks on, and you can't walk into a shop without somebody spraying you from top to bottom with some awful smelling sanitizer, which is fine by me, because anything to prevent the COVID. But I think this whole wine and booze story is crazy.
Well, Michael, I find that sanitizer isn't that bad with a bit of tonic water, a slice of lemon, and lots of ice. But then I was driven to that during lockdown. Okay, but it's unfair on our other two guests not to just quickly get their thoughts on the lockdown. Dwayne.
I agree with Michael. I think having such draconian controls and forcing you to buy wine on certain dates and times, I think is ridiculous. So if you were going to deal with the problem, then either ban it or don't. Forcing people to buy on certain days, I think, is ridiculous. And then our people will find a way around the problem, right? Okay, as most people did through lockdown anyway. So they're going to buy it in bigger bulk during the week. They're still going to drink it. Okay, so I think the rules are just silly. I think, and to be honest, insulting. Okay, so, and I think it's having big impact on the wine industry. With my recent trip into Cape Town, just seeing the impact in the Cape region on that whole value chain is just really, really sad. And I think it's actually unnecessary. Okay, it's unnecessary to be locking down industries like the tourism industry. People are responsible. They are going to have this self-preservation. People will look after themselves. So I think it's all unnecessary. So I just hopefully eventually government just reduces those restrictions and common sense prevails.
Okay, and a final thought from our favorite Marxist economist, Mike Schussler.
Well, I would agree 100%. I don't think it makes sense to ban times of anything. I am anti the lockdown all over the world. I think our politicians have been misled. They hear the millions. They don't think in terms of proportion. There is not just one disease. There is not just a few industries that you harm. You harm a heck of a lot of industries when you hurt one industry, because there are supply chains right through the whole world. And I fully agree with the other, Michael and Dwayne, and you, in fact, I know. So I think, yes, let's open up. Let's do whatever we can. Let's get the tourism back. I've seen waiters really nearly pass out when they came back to work. They didn't have the energy to serve people properly. It was a shame to see, and I'll stop there.
Well, thank you very much to Mike Schussler, to Dwayne Newman, and to Michael Olivier for taking part in this tasting podcast, where we tasted the Beyerkloof Pinotage from Woolworths. Once again, this tasting was not sponsored by Woolworths. They're not my favorite people at the moment, and I'm not their favorite customer, but it's an interesting idea, and let's hope that many other supermarkets and retail outlets look at interesting and innovative ways to get more people to drink more South African wine and to help this very distressed sector. I'm John Fraser, and that was ZA Confidential.